Calaroga Shark Media.
From New York City, where the Bronx is up and Trump is guilty 34 times over, this is Ballot.
That's right. Today, we'll take a look at what's next for Trump, and we'll talk about how both Biden and RFK reacted to the verdict. Someone is making me work weekends, Don, and I don't like it. Let's hit this. Well. Look who just got himself a fresh set of felony convictions to go along with that iconic comb-over. After weeks of courtroom dramatics and vintage Trump denials, a jury of brave New Yorkers decided to play hardball and find the former president guilty on all 34 counts in that sordid Stormy Daniels hush money saga. You'd think paying off a porn star to keep her mouth shut would be a verifiable drop in the bucket for a supposed billionaire playboy. But nope. The Donald just had to make things exponentially messier by cooking fraud Watergate-level books to cover it all up. So much for draining that swamp, am I right? Now the big question looms. Will Trump be doing a stretch of hard time in the Gray Bar Hotel? Or will his inevitable Apia-palooza succeed in keeping him a free man to ramble unabated on the 2024 campaign trail? Knowing this guy's litigious prowess, my money's on the latter. Not that it'll stop Trump from preemptively bashing the judge as a highly conflicted devil out to get him. Because, of course, the purported billionaire elite has to play perpetual victim to the so-called rigged system any chance he gets. What's a little unearned martyrdom between friends? Speaking of friends, you just know Trump's camp is absolutely eating up finally having an excuse to cry about being politically persecuted by Biden and his people. As if Sleepy Joe is some puppet master kingpin orchestrating the entire justice system from his basement. I can see the fundraising emails now. The crooked Democrats stole our victory, but you can help me fight back by donating the cost of a Big Mac meal to my legal defense fund. Grifter's gonna grift, even with the walls closing in. Of course, the GOP establishment is already telegraphing their total disregard for Trump's newfound criminal status. Why let a little felony rap sheet get in the way of the all-important quest for power? They'll keep propping him up as the nominee while conveniently ignoring any ethical conflicts. And you know Trump's die-hard MAGA base will just double down on their cult-like devotion. A conviction practically certifies his martyred populist bona fides in their alternative reality. He's fighting for us against the deep state, they'll chant between sips of ultra-male vitality supplements. The rest of us reasonable folks, meanwhile, are left watching in abject horror as the perpetual clown car that is modern American politics just gets more and more ridiculous by the day. A literally convicted felon as a major party's presidential nominee? You just can't make this stuff up. All we can do is buckle up and brace for impact as the fallout really starts raining down. The takes will be scorching, the grifting will be relentless, and the circus will somehow find even newer levels of absurdity to plumb before 2024's main event. Hey, at least we'll always have the dark comedic relief of imagining Trump passing the time scribbling manifestos with a jailhouse tattooed teardrop. The memes practically make themselves at this point. But for real, I gotta hand it to the Manhattan DA's office. They actually managed to hand an L to the ultimate showman who was born, bred, and buttered, slipping out of every conceivable legal snafu unscathed. A historic first in the books. Now, if you'll excuse me, I need to go stock up on popcorn for the inevitable appeals extravaganza coming down the pike. Something tells me we ain't seen nothing yet in the peak bonkers era of American politics. Buckle up and start stretching out those calf muscles, folks. The real marathon of madness is only just beginning. I can't say I'm surprised the major networks had to cut away from Trump's unhinged post-conviction ramblings once it became clear it was more deranged stump speech than actual news conference. I mean, the sheer level of delusion and reality denying on display would have made even your most seasoned Fox News producers blush. Calling the judge a devil while accusing Biden of somehow masterminding the whole prosecution from his metaphorical basement lair? Chef's kiss levels of absurdist conspiracy theorizing. You've got to respect the media's instinct to at least attempt substance and truth over giving Trump's unfettered falsehood fire hose a free promotional platform. Could you imagine if the networks just mindlessly aired every uncut second of that embarrassing diatribe? Lester Holt and Coe clearly made the prudent call to cut bait and bring in some actual legal experts to apply much-needed fact-checking and context. No use signal-boosting Trump's self-serving fiction as the gospel truth without scrutiny. That said, Kudos to Fox News for leaning into their brand and just airing the whole clown show start to finish. At this point, is anyone really surprised they alone among the major outlets opted to be Trump's hype man without any pesky editorial judgment getting in the way? It seems President Biden has finally decided to weigh in on Trump's conviction and subsequent meltdown. And he's pulling absolutely no punches in defending the integrity of the justice system against the former president's unhinged attacks. You can practically hear the exasperation in Biden's voice as he blasts Trump's reckless, dangerous, irresponsible claims that the whole trial was just one big rigged sham because the verdict didn't go his way. The president is clearly over the perpetual delusions and victimhood complexes when it comes to Trump and the rule of law. It's a refreshingly forceful rebuke from the usually mild-mannered Biden. Calling out Trump's fascistic rhetoric about living in a fascist state and demanding respect for judicial institutions. That's the kind of passionate, democracy-defending messaging that resonates in these volatile times. You can imagine Biden practically wagging his finger at the TV as Trump once again tried peddling his greatest grievance hits from the courthouse steps, railing about rigged trials, attacking judges and witnesses, baselessly accusing his political rivals of engineering his downfall. It's the same sad song and dance we've seen play out countless times before. But this time, with Trump's first actual conviction now in the books, Biden seems to have reached his limit in terms of tolerating any further degradation of America's justice system. He's putting his foot down on the corrosive norm shredding before it metastasizes into something even more pernicious. It's a stark contrast from the deliberate hands-off approach Biden took throughout the trial itself. Back then, his team seemed hesitant to make any proclamations about the legal process for fear of politicizing or undermining it. The tone has definitely shifted now that a guilty verdict is secured. You can envision Biden's advisors greenlighting a more aggressive patriotic counter-narrative to Trump's perpetual grievance stoking. No more letting flagrant lies about rigged trials and persecuted victims go unchallenged from the bully pulpit. It's time to fight fire with some constitutional fire. Of course, Trump being Trump, he'll just double down on portraying himself as the ultimate silence truth-teller with claims that Biden is the one disrespecting justice by attacking his free speech. The man does love projecting like an IMAX theater, but hey, at least we're set to enjoy some good old-fashioned partisan mudslinging over who respects democracy and the rule of law more. Because that's just what this country needs. Two elderly men bickering about who honors American judicial traditions better while lobbing vague fascist accusations at each other. All I know is, I certainly can't wait for the dueling 4th of July address, where we get Trump feverishly ranting about political witch hunts to own the libs, followed immediately by Biden somberly preaching that the peaceful transfer of power is more important than any one man's grievances. It'll be a star-spangled celebration of American polarization like none other. A self-satirizing spectacle of two diametrically opposed realities battling for the nation's soul. Simply democratic decorum at its most pathologically dysfunctional. So grab your patriotic snacks and get ready to cringe, folks. The battle over narrative framing of Trump's convictions and the sanctity of the legal system is only just beginning to heat up. Gulp down a cold kofef and try to appreciate the civic melodrama, if you can stomach it. Well. Looks like the Trump train just picked up an unexpected passenger, none other than Robert F. Kennedy Jr. himself. In a rather eyebrow-raising move, the anti-vax conspiracy theorist turned independent presidential candidate is now firmly planting himself in Trump's corner by decrying his conviction as profoundly undemocratic. You can practically hear the sigh of relief from MAGAland as RFK Jr. lends some counterculture anti-establishment cred to Trump's cries of partisan persecution. Because what better way to bolster the rigged system narrative than having a Kennedy label the whole shebang an affront to democracy itself? Of course, Trump and his acolytes are eating up the support, signal-boosting Kennedy's comments about this all just being a dastardly Dem plot to beat Trump in the courtroom rather than the ballot box. Subtle stuff, as always. It's almost comical seeing two such diametrically opposed polar opposites find common cause over mutual legal woes and anti-system grievances. The clean-cut, ultra-wealthy heir to American royalty, making common alliance with the crassest of wealthy charlatans? You really can't make this stuff up. Though I suppose in the upside-down world of 24 politicking, the old adage about the enemy of my enemy reigns supreme over traditional partisan boundaries or personal histories of animosity. Heck, even Trump's past dismissals of Kennedy as some radical leftist boogeyman get tossed out the window now that he needs a useful idiot martyr complex reinforcer. And for Kennedy's part, you can't help but see the obvious grift potential in aligning himself with Trump's persecuted victim cult following. Dollar signs are absolutely flashing before his eyes over the prospect of peeling off disaffected MAGA supporters desperate for an anti-establishment folk hero to flock towards. Will it actually work in propelling the former prosecutor towards legitimate spoiler territory? Or will this whole awkward episode just cement RFK Jr.'s descent into being a punchline among lucid observers? Only time will tell. But one thing's for sure. The sheer unintentional comedic value of seeing the scion of Democratic royalty rush to the defense of Donald freaking Trump cannot be overstated. We may be trapped in a simulation, but at least the writers still have a sense of humor about just how batty this all is. So grab some popcorn and get ready for the two ultimate anti-vaxxers, one a billionaire businessman, the other a billionaire socialite, to take their fringe skeptic show on the road and hawk their delusional legal rigged narrative to every disaffected corner of society. It'll be Idiocracy meets Game of Thrones, with a dash of wag the dog-style media manipulation thrown in for good measure. Just another day in the circus tent that American politics has become. Portions of today's program were created with the help of AI. Just not any of the crazy parts. Maybe we should just let the computers run the show,